Hello again! I'm Andrike, and in this video I'll be doing another lightsaber install. I've teased about this video in my recent short, and I intended to publish the video on May 4th. However, due to time limitations, I couldn't get the edit done in time. So that's why you're seeing this video much later. This install will be similar to the first lightsaber install I've done, which will be the NeoPixel Profi lightsaber. However, there are a couple of parts that are unfamiliar to me when it comes to this Hilt's chassis. The whole story behind this Hilt is that I bought an empty Hilt from Saber. Saber was running an extremely rare sale for an empty mystery saber, and I just couldn't pass up on this chance to get something really cool. At the time of the recording, it was around $155 when I bought the Hilt. Saber is still doing this sale, but with a $40 increase, which is still rather cheap for the quality you receive. This is the 89Sabers Luke V2 Hilt with a stencil weather finish. Originally, getting this Hilt would be $225 for the clean version and $275 for the stencil weathered finish. However, I essentially saved $120 from this mystery saber promotion, meaning that out of the whole selection of sabers I could have gotten, I received a more expensive model, which made me hyped. I was hoping for a different hilt like Starkiller's lightsaber, but I'm still content with getting Luke's lightsaber instead. Inside the box included a pommel for sound venting, as well as the switch card for the clamp. There were also two buttons that will be used underneath the switch card. A blade plug was also included, so there wasn't a need to buy a separate one. Since this hilt was a mystery saber, I had to wait until I knew what model I received, so I could get the appropriate parts afterwards. So this is what I bought for the install. I bought the corresponding install kit from the Saber Armory. Here's a closer look of the hilt just to bask in its shiny glory. I removed the clamp lever from the clamp so I could work on the switch card later. Then there's the aforementioned pommel with sound venting. After that is the switch card as well as the holder for the two buttons that were included with the hilt. Now here's the fun part. This is a 3D printed crystal chamber chassis, which is a lot more proper than the first lightsaber install I did with a crystal at the pommel. This battery holder separates from the chassis to allow for convenient battery swaps. This holder actually holds the speaker as well, which means that without the battery holder, there won't be any sound coming from the hilt. It's slightly inconvenient, since programming the soundboard later would be less obvious with whether there's a confirmed connection with the saber. This section of the crystal chamber unscrews to reveal the area for the crystal, as well as a place to hold the thin neck PCB and the soundboard. Here are the battery contacts, as well as the 28mm speaker. This one's pretty much the same as the one I got from Saber in terms of specs. This part is actually a thin neck PCB holder for the next section, and that will get glued inside there. Here's the thin neck PCB set, which I've never used before until now, so this will be interesting. Then we got the NeoPixel connector holder, which will get glued inside the emitter. And after that is the Eco NeoPixel V4 hilt side connector, which is slightly different from the normal NeoPixel connector I used in the first install. This one actually has more LEDs and less pins, but it sacrifices all the neat features from the original NeoPixel connector, such as LED animations and most importantly, blade detection. This connector came pre-soldered, so luckily, I don't have to do as much work setting it up. We also have the speaker booster for the pommel, the kill switch, the PCB set for the battery and speaker holder, the tiny micro NeoPixel accent LED for the crystal, the 18650 keep power battery, and lastly, the Profi board V3.9. The SD card in this one only included the default files, which is a shame, but it is what it is. As for tools, we have the usual wire strippers, wires that I still have from the first install except a new bag of 30 gauge wires, wire cutters for the battery tabs, files for removing excess material from the PCBs, soldering iron, E6000, heat shrink, brass wool, helping hands, soldering wire, and Loctite that I never used in the install. Oh, and the tweezers that I forgot to get the camera shot of. Oh well.
Huh?
I'm keeping this section rather short, since my camera didn't pick up enough footage, and also I was getting frustrated with the amount of time I was wasting trying to get these parts to work. I apologize in advance for a lot of the steps I'm skipping in this one. Anyways, I soldered the pins onto the thin neck PCB, and I screwed up one of the pins alignment, so I had to restart over and over until it was standing straight. Then I soldered the wires onto the pads of the thin neck PCB, and then slipped the whole PCB from within the next section of the hilt, using the thin neck PCB holder. After that, I connected the NeoPixel connector to its holder, and soldered the wires from the thin neck PCB to the pads of the NeoPixel connector. Moving on to the battery holder. This was the part that got me thinking a lot. I trimmed the excess from the battery tabs and soldered the respective wires onto them. Following that would be the speaker with its wires. All of them would be glued onto the battery holder, and then we move on to the main chassis. The second thin neck PCB is attached on top of the chassis with the wires leading to the soundboard, kill switch, and battery PCB. Speaking of the battery PCB, it was slightly confusing knowing what I needed to attach to the pads, but after knowing the wire placement, it went smoothly. I attached a micro NeoPixel accent with their own wires to the crystal, and then I attached a second battery PCB to the other end of the chassis. This was a huge jump here, but I trimmed down the legs of the buttons to make them fit better in the switch section, and then I attached the clamp lever to the clamp, ensuring the switch card stayed where it should. The whole chassis was put inside the hilt at last, and all there was to do was to wire all of them to the Provi board. When everything was wired properly, I put the crystal chamber shroud back on and did a test of the lightsaber after programming the soundboard. I had to keep the NeoPixel connector loose from the emitter since I wasn't too sure if the neck PCBs were making a good connection, so this test confirmed that everything was working perfectly. Here's another test of the lightsaber, but without the mess on the desk. Now that everything is finished, here's the full showcase of the lightsaber in action. Since I didn't get to publish this video on time, I added some cool sound fonts that were released on May 4th.
Jedi, like my father before me. I am Luke Skywalker. May the Force be with you. I am Jordan Narwood. Lord Maul. Party Saber.
That's all I have for this video. If you want to check out the previous lightsaber videos I've done, then you can check them out right there. I hope you enjoyed this slight behind the scenes of what happens with lightsaber installs. If you like what you watched, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for some more potential content. I also stream on Twitch, so make sure to visit when you have the time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!